I couldn't be any more excited right now.
Those hands were filled with poop-stained underwear, which he allegedly smeared on the face of his victim.
Do you realize what percentage of your opening conversations are about bathrooms, Merrill?
Sometimes when you look through the little hole between the stalls, you can see another guy. You should just look him in the eyes the entire time.
I think you have the wrong expectations for what's going to go down here. We're going off the rails here. Maybe football instead.
As always, next year. Happy Chicken Soup for the Soul Day, everybody. Welcome back to the Sandlot Fantasy Football League, Sandlotcast, the podcast about our uber-competitive fantasy football league. I am Arvidas Sabonis. With me this week, I've got Tony Kukoc and Detlef Schrempf. Gentlemen, how are you today?
That's one of the crummier holidays you've had in recent memory. Where'd you dig that out of?
I can't.
What sort of Hallmark nonsense is that?
You know, I don't make these up. These are actual holidays, I promise. So... Did you ever read that book, Chicken Soup for the Soul?
No.
I read a couple versions of it.
Yeah, it's very heartwarming. You know, it's good in a cold day.
Feel good to read.
Heart.
That's not what warms my heart.
What warms your heart, Hillers?
6 first house touchdowns from Rodgers doesn't hurt too much in the heartwarming department.
I don't think that warms another owner's heart in our league too much. But
whatever.
Who is not here today? Anthony is not here. He said, I believe his quote was, "I have nothing left to give to fantasy football this year," even though he's a game out of the wild card right now. So, Anthony, we miss you, buddy. Hope you're feeling all right, and you're not out of this yet. Keep on trucking. Nick, how are things, man?
Well, I'm not Anthony, so geez. You guys want me here? Maybe.
So your house is way dirtier?
I think I've done more podcasts than Anthony has this year.
You might have.
I think Anthony's our guest host now.
It's weird how Anthony has nothing left to give to fantasy football this year, yet you're a game worse than him and still showing up to play. So we appreciate that.
If you can stop showing up to play next week, though, I would really appreciate it.
So, guys, I got a bone to pick here, and this is something that's been bothering me for a while. I got to get this off my chest, all right? So it's on my chest. Got to get it off my chest. I'd like to take it from here to here.
Okay.
Whatever you got to do, man.
Here to here. Okay. Anyway. So I'm watching commercials these days, and I don't know if it's just these days.
Whoa. Is your bone that you have to watch commercials? Because I've never... What is this commercials that you speak of? Don't you have a DVR?
He didn't even make it halfway through the first sentence. You gotta...
Well, you still come across commercials. You watch in sports, you see commercials, things like that, right? You know, I don't DVR my sports. Although I do watch Red Zone, so...
Okay.
So when I watch NBC football on Sunday night, where there are so many commercials... Oh my God!
Forever.
Because that coverage is terrible. I've noticed the commercials are rather bossy, and by bossy I mean they say, like a car commercial, say "Come down and see us" or "Come have one of our sandwiches." They don't ever say please. They don't ask nicely. They just say "Come here and do this" or "Go do that" or "Buy our stuff." Or,
I wouldn't eat a sandwich that someone was begging me to eat. There's no way I'm gonna please eat my sandwich. I'd be like, no. If someone just doesn't want to eat it of its own accord, you asking please only makes me wonder what the hell is wrong with it.
Would you rather eat a sandwich that they're ordering you to eat?
It depends on what the sandwich is. The choice is still mine. They're not my overlords. It's just a commercial.
What if it's Peyton Manning eating a chicken parm sandwich?
That commercial has made me want a chicken parm sandwich before.
All right, I got it. So be honest. How many times have you guys hummed that when walking around your house?
Well, not all the time, but I do it a lot. I also like losing feeling in my toe.
Yeah, not once. I'll say that. Probably more than once.
Just bothers me how they just assume that they're going to order you to come do something and you're going to do it, and I'm not going to do it. I would appreciate a commercial asking nicely, being polite to me, and trying to get me down there, you know, in the polite way, instead of just ordering me.
That's bullshit. You've been in the South too long.
But then one more thing too, and then we'll get into football. I promise. And this doesn't relate to bathrooms either, Hiller. So you'll be happy about that.
For once.
Yeah, for once. So every Monday, you guys maybe have you heard of Moe's Monday? Maybe. You go to Moe's, Southwest Grill. Anyway, you get burrito chips and a drink for like $6 or something like that. It used to be $5, now it's $6. I don't know. It's like the price is going up, whatever. But anyway, so I go in there to Moe's every Monday, and these guys, are behind the counter. They think they're so fast, and they're taking orders like, sir, sir, and they're hurrying everybody along, trying to get everybody through. You order your burrito, you tell them what you want in it, and you move down the line. It's like a Chipotle. You guys have been to Chipotle.
It's faster than a Chipotle, though, for the most part.
Very similar to that. Anyway, they're so fast. They think they're so good. So they sit there, sir, what can I get you? So I shout out my order. Give me a burrito bowl with chicken, blah 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 blah. And the guy says, okay. And he says, so he finally, but he's making the previous guy's burrito at the time, right? So, but then he turns around, he gets to my bowl, and he says, you said you wanted chicken, blah blah, and he makes me repeat it every frickin' time. And it's like, if you're not ready for my order, don't ask for my order. Don't make me order it twice. Have you guys ever had that problem before?
No.
Did
Andy Rooney retire and you just decided to take up the nonsensical irritants business? What is this? How long were you
Nick?
on those?
Help me out, Nick.
Meryl, I'm with you. I'm with you on this one, Meryl. It is very frustrating. Where I hate that is one of the things that I hate is going to, and it's really only like at a fast food restaurant or Moe's or Chipotle or whatever, is that I hate repeating my order.
Yes.
And I hate repeating my order more than twice. Because you ask me and say yes, here it is, and then if they don't hear me, it's like, okay, I want a chicken burrito bowl. Like, okay, now you wanted steak. Like if you ask me a third time, I don't know if you guys know this, but I have a tendency to get a little bit loud.
I'm going to shat in the food if you ask me a third time.
I will put the little 16-year-old kid with pimples in his place and be like,
he's in his place. That is his place. Making the minimum amount of wage, not giving a shit about your burrito, is his place.
You have one job, and your job is to get my order right, and your job is to not make me.
They don't care about their job.
It's not even the full order, though. It's like the first part of the order. It's like, what style of food do you want, and what meat do you want, and that's it.
That's big, right?
That's all there is. It's like,
how often are you going to Moe's that this is plaguing the both of you? You
I
guys
go every Monday.
Diversify.
I got a deal. I can walk to it. I go every Monday. It's great.
Head down to the Jerry's, man. They have a $5 pizza.
They think they're so big because they're like, oh, look at me. I can handle 3 orders at a time, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, they're rushing you through.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you get up there, and they're like, now, what'd you want again?
People talk about, that's what everyone says about the Moe's servers. They think they're so big. They're up on their high horse.
They do. Wanting that minimum wage increase, really thinking they deserve to make enough money to live on. There's people with no skills.
You got to move back up north, Merrill. Anyway,
yeah.
you got any football related irritants to talk about, or is it just?
I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm so bitter. I'm having a heck of a season here. I'm not sure why I'm so bitter, but I guess you got to be bitter about something.
You have to reach in and find other things that have been plaguing your life.
The rage has to go somewhere.
That's true. I got to be bitter about something. So, because, man, I got to tell you, 12-2, it's a good place to be.
Shut up.
All right, so anyway, this show, we're not going to run through team overviews, guys. We're going to try to keep it somewhat short here. We're going to go over some of the trades that happened at the trade deadline. We're going to run through the playoff scenario. We're going to do some power rankings, and we're going to close it out. So hopefully we'll be out of here in, 20 minutes or less. What do you think?
With that, we could have been out here already if you hadn't bitching about
your years.
Yeah. Well, let's get into our factoids first here, Hillers. Some minigame changes. It's been 2 weeks since we last checked in. So what has happened in the last 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah, big news. So in the last 2 weeks, we've had some major switch-ups in the minigames, the season-long tracking of great performances. Rodgers, with his 6 touchdowns, took over the highest-scoring QB week.
Is that Carlos Rodgers or Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, sometimes I forget. I think it's Aaron, but okay. I'm not certain. That same week, Lynch took highest scoring running back with 40.3 points and 5 touchdowns.
There you go, Anthony.
Still not enough to win the game that week because he was against Rodgers, but whatever. How many quarterback points do you say he got scored against that week? 80-something? 87?
I believe it was 87 is the number.
That's a lot. Yeah. And then Dave is now the highest scoring. The Eagles' defense for Dave is now the highest scoring defense at 34 points with their utter whipping of the Panthers.
Yeah.
What was that about? That was
the
crazy.
Panthers, who did not travel to Philadelphia, they just decided not to show up.
I had a divisional rival in the other league whose entire defense is essentially made up of Eagles. He was down going into the game. I was like, all I need is for the Eagles defense to have a bad game. No.
That didn't happen.
Everyone on it had about 30 points. It's
That
crazy.
didn't happen. No. So okay, so that's where we're at. You said a pretty good distribution of mini games too, right?
Yep. No one's over $30 worth of money so far, and Pritchard and Nick are the only two to have not won anything yet.
Which is shocking because Pritchard, Nick's had an okay year and Pritchard's had a great year, so it's kind of weird.
Just the way it panned out, week to week, man.
All right, so there's your factoids. Let's get into some trades and some news that happened in the league here, gentlemen. We'll start, I guess, with the first trade. The trade deadline was yesterday, right? Yesterday or today?
It was today, but I'm not sure exactly what time during the day that
It happened at midnight. Not sure, but there were two trades that happened just before the trade deadline. Both of them involving podcasters, it turns out. So we'll have some, I
We're
guess,
a lively bunch.
yeah, insight into these. Shocker that
I'm
the people
surprised that
who
the people who do the podcast are the most active in the league.
completely shocking. I know. Yeah. So anyway, the trade deadline happened. I don't know, Nick. Were you expecting more to happen at the trade deadline, or I feel like this is one of the kind of slower trade deadlines we've had.
I feel like in general this season was kind of slow. I mean, we had, but it seemed like it was slow. But I think if we look back at it, we had just as many trades as we did normally. It's just it feels slow because ultimately it is the same people trading for the most part over and over again. Like it's Hillers and Anthony. You and I will get a trade in. Like as for as much shit as I get for trades and not trading, like I will make one, maybe two moves a season.
Usually involving Steve Smith.
Usually involving Steve Smith.
Right.
Like there's just, but there's a lot of people that just don't do that aren't in. So when you look back at it, it's like, oh well, it seems like it was slow, but it's just because it's the same people making moves with the same people.
Yeah.
I always think it's too slow because just about everybody has an incentive to try to trade. At the trade deadline. If you're a crummy team, you've got to have a guy that you're paying too much for, and you say, well, I'm out of it, and maybe somebody wants him. You can get somebody that's a keeper, for something that was essentially worthless to you at that point. Or if you're a team that's making a playoff run and you've got a cheap guy that's not making your starting lineup, but might have some potential appeal next year, and of course that's the utter speculation, but it's a great way to get $1 guys for cheap going into the next season. You should be involved in that, but it just it has a lot to do with the rosters too. It's not just the owners. Just the market for that isn't as robust this year as it used to be. I mean, losing teams did not have a ton of high-priced, high-scoring guys this season.
Right.
I think a lot has to do with too when it comes to the teams that are out of it that are trying to make moves is that some of them already have a lot of the pieces that they want, and
right.
being our roster limits of what you can keep is like, well, I already have 2 running backs that I'm keeping, so I can't really trade for a running back, and I don't really want to trade for these other receivers that you're offering. So,
well, to that, I agree with that, Nick, but I will say to go a step further on that is you can have 3 running backs up until the keeper deadline. And at that point, because there's a lot of trades that happen right before the keeper deadline because people are looking for keepers, right? So if you have 3 running backs and no receivers, well, right before the keeper deadline, guess what you can trade? You trade a running back for a receiver, and that fills out your team. So just because you have 2 keeper running backs on your team at this time doesn't mean that you shouldn't trade for more because those guys are commodities that people are going to want in the preseason.
Yeah. Or even 3. I mean, you never know who's going to get a new job or who's going to retire. It's... Right. It's just it's a total crapshoot in some ways. Who's going to be popular? So there are guys that show up every season. Oh, this is going to be their year. The hype starts like from nothingness, and they say, "Oh, this is the year, breakout year for something that's never been good." And people start thinking, "Oh, okay, I want that guy." And most of the times they don't pan out anyway. But that doesn't mean they're worthless then, because somebody will give you something for it.
That's right. It's wherever the hype is in the preseason. Those guys are going to have value, and so maybe if a running back's all you can get, but you already have 2 keepers, well, go for it because those are guys you can turn around because things change from year to year, and maybe due to that you can get a wide receiver for one of those running backs down the road.
Having said that, not selling your team down the river could be a decent if you're in toilet bowl contention. You know, you can get a keeper fee, and if for people that aren't mathematically eliminated, you know, it's like I can understand not selling your entire team out, but
I could definitely understand that. Just trying to hold on to that little speck of hope. I've been doing that for the last 10 years.
Have gotten into the playoffs, you know, on everyone said no, they're done. They're all but mathematically eliminated. Those teams have gotten in the past. You know, I can see not giving up, but if you have given up, then by all means, get out there.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, but I will say I think there was a lot of activity out there. Like I know Hillers, I think you were targeting some more people than you got. I know Evan had a bunch of trades out there. Yeah, so like if looking around, I mean, so Nick, I don't know if were you targeting any other trades, or was it just kind of me and you talking, and you kind of got what you wanted out of that deal? Or?
You know, this trade was purely it falls under the I now have 3 running backs. I don't know what the situation is going to be. Maybe I can move one. Maybe something happens and I have a third guy. Let's see, like that's where this trade fell into the category of me. Is that
what was the trade for? I don't think we've said exactly what it was.
It was Nick gave me Ahmad Bradshaw. I gave him Charles Sims, the rookie running back for the Bucs.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of reading, listening to podcasts, and everyone's saying that Charles Sims is really because like they really like him in Tampa. He in his first game back, even after his fumble, they still gave him the ball 10 times. And I looked at one game and was like, for $2, I'm willing to take a flyer on this because I'm out of it.
Right. Sure.
It is purely a we'll see what happens, and worst case scenario, I trade him. He doesn't make my cut for rosters.
Well, so outside of that though, Nick, is there anyone around the league that you thought maybe should have made a deal, like could have dealt a high price guy that there should have been a move made that wasn't?
See, I don't think there is. I think that there's enough roster disparity that there are teams that are good, like don't really have anyone to be able to trade to, you know. I don't know how much could have been made. To be honest. I'm not looking at all their rosters trying to say, oh, well, this is the move that Dave should make and he should trade to the Assassin.
No, Arian Foster on the Assassin should not be on that team anymore.
Now, why do you say that?
That's true.
Well, because there's tons of to make something out of Arian Foster when he's back and playing. And sort of in the game there. He's had excellent scores since probably week 5, and he costs a fortune, you know. And
well, let me ask you this:
Watson needs to reset his team. $45, $48 to keep at least is too much for Foster. I think.
Let me ask you this: if DeMarco Murray went back into the draft next year, which I know he's not, but if he went back into the draft next year, how much do you think he would go for?
Low to mid 40s.
Oh, no, that's absurd.
No, you see, Merrill, to your
no, that's the top of what guys usually go for. Just because Peterson
was in the draft this year, and he was $45.
And he went for 45. That's right. And he went for 45 when people were saying, "Well, we're not sure about him. He might be kind of dumb."
He was still one of the top 3 backs available.
Right.
Drop his. What has he done this year to drop his injury prone? We're not sure how he's doing. What has he done to change his situation this year?
Because he's been every good. He's missed, I think, 1 game, and he's been in the games he's played.
He tore his groin, and he might not play this week.
But he might. But it's looking like he will play this week. And in the games he's played, he's every bit as good, if not better, than DeMarco Murray, who everybody's talking about.
I think he could have gotten a lot for Foster. I think he could have gotten a lot to rebuild his team. I mean, Watson, bless him, he tries, but he's been
Foster.
Well, as a $48 Arian Foster, ask around, man. I would have tried to put something together. I would have been willing to put other guys I would not have been willing to put in play in trade talks for a guy.
Put something together, Hillers. What are you giving Watson for Arian Foster?
Oh, well, my team isn't that great. I would have given him Vereen to start with. Maybe, I mean, what do I got? Maybe not Julius Thomas, Golden Tate. I mean, the only 3 guys I'm going to keep.
You wouldn't even give him a tight end.
He's one of the best tight ends in the league, and he costs $2.
Arian Foster's one of the best running backs in the league.
But he costs $48. I mean, I'm talking about relative values. You know how it works. You don't get.
I do know how it works.
Merrill, okay. Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen.
Devontae Adams isn't worth anything.
What are we talking about here? Keenan Allen's been terrible.
These are the people, like Anthony has Keenan Allen and Devontae Adams on those.
Oh, so you're saying he could have dealt them?
Yeah, okay. So these are trade pieces that you get from Anthony. From Dad Dix, Sammy
But you're
Watkins.
saying Watson would want those guys instead of Arian Foster?
Sammy Watkins, maybe. Instead of
That's absurd.
I don't know. What's Sammy Watkins cost?
Oh my God.
I
Okay.
think so.
13. I mean, $48 is a lot of dollars.
I had Arian Foster. These, I would shop at some Danny Grimes and say Sammy Watkins.
To start, you know.
I mean, you're asking
Terrence West or something in there too, you know.
Dedix and say Sammy
I'm
Watkins.
saying $48 is a lot of dollars, but Arian Foster is going to go for around that price again in the draft next year. Right?
You think? You have no idea.
I have a pretty good idea. We've been doing this auction draft, and the top
and I'll
running
tell
back.
you about facts.
Can I finish?
The facts
Can I
are
finish?
Watson has been terrible for years.
Can I finish?
To try something. Okay, go ahead.
So Arian Foster, so the top running back in our fantasy drafts typically goes for $50-ish, sometimes more, actually usually a little more, but somewhere around $50, right? So Arian Foster is going to be one of the top running backs that goes back into the draft in the next year, and he could keep him for $48. Is it a good value? No, it's not a good value. But is it a number one running back that you can have on your team that you can lock up and know that you just have that guy, you've got your RB1 slot covered?
You don't know
Good to
anything.
go.
Ask Anthony what you know about expensive running backs. Okay, I mean you don't know what's going to happen at all.
You
I mean,
don't, but you know you go on the odds.
Merrill, how dare you? You said that Adrian Peterson was going to go for $56, and he went for more than that. So you don't know anything.
You're right, I don't. You're right, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
$7, Merrill. You are horrible at predicting prices.
Yeah.
But aside from that, the point is there's no value to be had there. You need to
I didn't say
start
there
building
was.
a team with value if you're a losing team.
Yeah, but in the draft you don't get value anyway. In the draft, you're typically there's inflation and it's harder to find that value. So
Yeah, well,
why
you
not
got to
just-
get it at the trade deadline.
Why not just get a guy at cost basically and keep him, and he's your running back. You know you've got him. I mean, anyway, we're spending a lot of time on this, but you think Arian Foster should have probably been dealt. I say I don't know that that's necessarily the case. And
Guys, I agree with you.
so there you go. I'm outvoted, so
At least
clearly
try. At least
I'm
try.
out.
You know, and here's the other thing. And while we're on this topic, we'll get to that in a minute, I think. Well, we'll
Go ahead, take us
Maybe
into the next
LaShawn
segment, Nick.
Maybe LaShawn McCoy too. I don't know.
No way, God! LaShawn McCoy's a $55 running
Well,
back.
it just depends on if you're a believer or not. He's not
That's
playing
true.
like a $55 running back this year. I'll tell you that much.
But it only takes 2 believers to get him to that price.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
you know, so. Nick, sorry, go ahead. You said you had some. Take us to the next
I
segment.
think, but here's speaking of Arian Foster, and the fact that we're talking about him as a player is one thing, but it's the owner that we're talking about too. We're talking about someone who is year in and year out. I have never seen Watson have a good season. I don't think I've ever had Watson have a good.
As long as you've
He
been
made
here.
it to the championship one year.
I wasn't there that year.
No, it was like
You were
15
there.
years ago.
That was the year Brady
I'm not
had
sure.
lost and they went bonkers, and Watson had.
I'm not sure he was. I'm not sure he was, Mike. It's possible he wasn't.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Who knows? We're all old.
It was the year before Brady tore his ACL, whatever year that was.
2007. So that was the big year.
Yeah, this is Brady's big year. Watson made it to the championship.
Okay. Well, so 5 years ago he made it to the championship game. Good for him. But that was 5 years ago, and I think that is the only time that I think Watson's ever had a good team. And I think that, or at least in recent memory, like any kind of, and not even like a decent team, like we're talking like power ranking number 12
Yeah.
year,
If we were in a tattoo league, his body would be a roadmap of humiliation.
he would look like someone from Cincinnati.
So, well, okay, so yeah. But I guess my question is, you throw him back, who are you going to get? Who are you going to get for a better price?
You're not going to
Shane
crawl
Vereen is not the answer. I
from
mean,
years
you don't
in
want
the
a
basement.
Patriots running back to.
Well, my team is not well positioned with these keepers.
I just don't think. I mean, he's told me about some of the offers he was getting, and they were not. And again, I prefer Foster. I think that's well, well recorded here. But
Well, you got to go make offers. To come to you, you don't make the offers if you want it any better.
That's a fair point, and he's not one to do that. I don't know if Watson has ever actually sent out a trade, other than a counteroffer.
I feel like I almost enabled non-trading in this league because if I decide I want a position, everybody in the league with someone that meets the basic criteria will be getting an offer from me of some kind.
Yeah.
And so why would you go out? Why would you go out looking for it when and it will
Yeah.
come to you.
Yeah. So, well, Nick, I mean that's a good point, I guess, is that. But the other trade that happened, Hillers, was between you and JD. You traded away Ryan Tannehill for Julian Edelman. I think everybody understands why that happened. Kind of not really a blockbuster deal by any means. But
It
maybe
was the best I could do. I wanted a better receiver. That was the best guy I could get. I really like Tannehill as a quarterback, but
Yeah.
let's be honest, he's not starting on my team anytime soon.
Sure.
I mean, he did his job. He scored a hell of a lot of points on Rodgers' bye week and won me that week. And I said, "Good job, buddy," and fired him.
Yeah.
But Edelman's better than most of the receivers on my team. So
Yeah. I think he's a solid guy.
everybody, you know what I mean? I really think that Tannehill at $1 might have some appeal, even as a trade piece if he decides he wants to try something else. A quarterback.
Well, it's just weird because he has Matt Ryan at that solid price of $20. I can't believe he would want to go with another
You
quarterback.
could get Matt Ryan for a lot cheaper than $20 next season. I would
Well,
wager.
the Hillers of 12 weeks ago would slap you in the face right now. I'd just like you to know that. So I wish I could play the tape back from that
No, well,
that moment right there. Oh my God, I can't believe you just said
past Hillers and past Merrill have that in common, is that they're often at odds with our current selves.
that. Sure. Okay. All right. Any other moves that you guys thought maybe should have been made coming up on the trade deadline here, or I mean maybe Gronk? What about Gronk?
No.
No,
Or
you're gonna. Oh, by the way, Merrill, if we do a podcast next week, I've got to drink
Yeah,
whatever
you
you say. You're gonna win. Gronkowski was too much for Gates. Gates was winning for a long time, but he just could not.
Couldn't hold them all.
Couldn't keep it up.
Hey, he's an old guy, man. He doesn't have the stamina he used to have.
Big dumb animal is just everywhere for the Patriots. So start thinking about that.
Yeah. Well, you start thinking about what you're going to be drinking because I'll be telling you just to take sips every now and then. So.
Okay. Something mild.
Gronk's $22 to keep next year. Should he have been dealt?
No.
No, I think I probably would have kept him too. You got to view him at top-notch receiver prices, and that's without the competitive advantage he gives you over other people's tight ends.
So you keep Gronk for 22, but not Foster for 48.
Yeah.
Tight end. Okay. All right. That's just funny how opinions differ. I can't say whether you're right or wrong.
It's 50%. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, but
So just to keep this, rationale is on Toby Gerhardt as he will Arian Foster.
Yeah.
Oh, Toby Gerhardt. Worst. I'm putting his name in as the worst $40 running back ever drafted in our league. By the way.
I don't know. Marion Barber's got to be up there. That guy sucks. Ron Dane, didn't he go for $40 one year? I don't know.
He was a pick. He wasn't drafted.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So other.
By the way, Anthony, I'm looking through the bet book. You owe me $25 in liquor. Our bet set in the opening podcast this year, right at the same time, was Phillip Rivers will outscore RG3 on the season through 12 weeks. Oh wait, two-week injury clause.
Oh, there you go.
Damn it. And then Merrill, you had a bet with Anthony that you bet that Tom Brady would outscore Matt Ryan on the season with a 2-week injury clause.
How stupid does that sound right now?
But you never set the stakes.
Oh well, I'm right. That's all that matters. Is I'm right.
you were right. We're near the end. Those things are right.
Yeah, I was right on everything regarding
Phillip
Matt Ryan.
Rivers crushed RG3, Anthony.
Yeah.
So just saying.
So our playoff scenario, we're kind of breaking it down here. There's pretty much, what is it? We got our 3 division winners. So there's 6 teams kind of in the playoff hunt right now. Beyond that, there's a couple teams at 6 and 8, but teams at 6 and 8 really, I don't know if they're mathematically eliminated, but they're pretty
not
much
mathematically eliminated.
But
it's not good.
It's not good. I mean, it's not good. So other than that, we've got our division winners are even pretty well decided in that I'm probably going to win our division.
There's no way you can't win your division at this point, Merrill.
Right. I've locked up his division, and Dad Dix is 2 games up with 2 to go on Hillers. So technically, it's not completely locked up. He would have to lose out, and Hillers would have to win out and outscore him by 30 points. One of those games is between the 2 teams, so that helps a little bit. But it looks like Dad Dix is probably going to
It's
take
not
that
going to
division.
help. I'm going to get crushed.
But beyond that, there's 3 teams competing for the wild card. 2 of those teams are at 8-6, and 1 team is at 7-7. Anthony at 7-7, and then Hillers and Dave are at 8-6. So 2 of those teams will get in. 1 of those teams will not. Is how that's looking right now. So it's weird that we have basically half the league eliminated at this point. I feel like normally we've got a lot more teams involved.
A little bit closer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, last year was a couple more teams that really just fell off the face of the earth and had 2 or 3 wins. But most of our teams were sort of in there, just not quite enough.
Right.
And it was a weird season. I mean, most of my losses are to the weakest teams in the league. I lost to the Choops, the Assassins, the Winye, to Brett. I lost to all those teams. Those are 4 of my 6 losses are the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
So it's just odd,
Nick, I mean, you're looking at 6 and 8. I'm looking at your points for. I mean, it looks like you're a little too far behind at points for probably to make up that ground.
So that's why I made the trade with you, because I'm out of it. I'm looking for next year.
Yeah, Evan at 6 and 8. He's got a few. I mean,
He's out of it. His points for is too low.
Here's the thing: we might have a playoffs in this league without Evan and Anthony. This might actually happen.
Hallelujah!
How weird is that?
Thank you.
No, more importantly, we're gonna have one without Evan, without Anthony, but with Merrill.
Yeah, with cats and dogs playing together.
The divisional reshuffling, man. It put this whole league on its head. Everything has gone crazy.
And Troy's team.
And Troy's team. That's right. The Dad Dicks they've clinched. I mean, they're in, right? They can't lose the playoffs.
No,
they can lose the division, but they can't lose the playoffs. So clinching teams in the playoffs are the Black Widows, Dad Dicks, and Touchdown Jesus, right? Or could Touchdown Jesus lose it?
Dad Dicks is not yet clinched, although it's all but.
But even if they go 10-6, they'll at least get a wild card.
They'll be in there, yes. So congratulations to you and Pritchard Mike. That's $60 cash prizes.
Right. And so what wild card teams get? What they get something too, right?
$30.
30. So Dad Dicks will at least have that as well. Probably they'll get the 60 for the division win as well. But that's the only division that's still kind of in doubt here. So interesting. I mean, so do you guys think Anthony's got a shot at coming back here?
Well, it's going to be tough. I think he plays Dad Dicks in the final week.
Does he?
He does. So that doesn't help. And I think he plays Nick, right? Who's only 1 team behind him this week. So last 2 weeks.
I'm going to start Adrian Peterson.
He's not going to play.
I'm going to start and beat him with Adrian Peterson.
Don't try to beat him. You got. I mean,
we may never.
If he's not
Anthony
playing,
again, if that happens, by the way. That may be the end of Anthony in this league if Adrian Peterson plays against him. 35.
Amazing coup, by the way. We never really talked about that, did we, Nick? What an amazing pickup for you. I wish that I had $19 in free agent money when Peterson went on the waivers. I was shocked it went that cheaply.
Yeah, that was.
I am too.
Yeah. Well, it's still a pretty fluid situation. I mean, we don't know where he's going to end up, and he's got a lot of miles on those tires as well. So
You took a year off. Adrian Peterson for 19.
Yeah, he'll have fresh legs.
he's a complete freak, and I think he'll be very good when he comes back. Don't get me wrong, but
Adrian Peterson for $21. Are you really going to say no to that in any case?
So okay, yeah. So if Adrian Peterson, let's ask if Adrian Peterson went back into the draft next year. Let's say, what team does he end up on? What's a likely landing spot for him?
Depends on budgets, but it's going to be in the 50s.
No, but I mean a team in the NFL that he lands on.
I heard New England.
I bet you did.
I don't know. A team that needs a running back or something, but Minnesota,
Right,
they could use a running back.
Let's say worst case scenario, Oakland.
All right, so let's say Adrian Peterson gets to Oakland. Worst case scenario, right? Like he's on, God forbid, he's on the Oakland Raiders. What does he go for? Like if he's a free agent and not kept by you, Nick, which he probably will be, but what does he go for, free agent-wise?
As an Oakland running back, I would still say low 40s, just because he's such an amazing history.
Yeah.
And at that point, people have been salivating over the mystical promise of Adrian Peterson for forever.
His name alone gets $40. Just
Yeah. You're right.
Is Ray Rice owned by a team in our league right now?
I don't think so. But the problem is you can't put him on injured reserve.
No, but do you think someone's going to pick him up before week 12 for $1 and try to keep him for next year?
Well, they probably will now.
They should.
Or you should do it.
I would, but I've got to be in the playoffs, and my running back situation is a hot mess.
Yeah. No, he's not owned. He doesn't have the history that Adrian Peterson has. I don't think Ray Rice is quite the running back he was.
No, but for $1, if he's on a team,
I mean, it's worth a flyer for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, I think Adrian Peterson, and that goes to show you, Nick. Let's say he goes low 40s, which I think we all say we probably would go for. You got a deal, man. That's $20 in value you got. So well done on that one. That's a weird situation. I mean, there's so many unknowns there.
Bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, he could be in friggin' prison, So, and then he's not really worth a whole lot at all when he's in prison. That's a low amount.
Good analysis, Mike. What else you got?
That's it. I mean, any other thoughts on playoff races?
We're gonna do power rankings.
Yeah, let's run through power rankings. Let's close this thing out, right? Thanks for moving along, Hillers. I appreciate it.
Yep. Someone's got to do it.
All right, so let's start at the top. We'll let our guest, our substandard hosts, go first here. Nick?
Okay. Because people like doing this, we're doing a podcast for the leagues, and it's not really fair when we talk about teams. And we've talked about 25% of us, but there's still, a couple of teams that we haven't said really anything about, and that's what people want to hear. So let's say a little bit something about these teams as we go along.
Okay.
The Assassins, honestly, I know I just said we should talk about these teams, but there's nothing to be said about this team. We've already spoken.
Well, we talked about him a little bit. We did.
A lot.
So welcome to number 12 still. Brad, you're there. We named at number 11, just not his season, but I think that his team, again, still solid. He beat me, but that's just because I put up a horrible week. 86 points doesn't deserve a win.
Could he have made a move that would have better positioned him for next season? Is there a move he could have made?
He got Brandon Cooks.
He's not keeping Brandon Cooks.
He better. He paid.
If you look at his team, he has Jeremy Hill, LaShawn McCoy, Brandon Cooks, Mike Evans, John Jackson at 21 is not horrible. Christine Michael, Devontae Freeman. He has a lot of, and
Michael Rivera as a nice tight end coming up in Oakland.
His fall rate, and depending on how it's not spring training, preseason looks, he has a lot of people that could be interesting for a decent value.
He's not keeping Brandon Cooks. I know that.
Well, he doesn't have. But I'm saying Christine Michael. Let's see what happens with Marshawn Lynch. Devontae Freeman. He hasn't done it before. He hasn't lived up to the Hard Knocks preseason.
That could be Adrian Peterson's new location, by the way, the Atlanta Falcons.
The what?
Adrian Peterson could be an Atlanta Falcon next year.
He has we didn't like the Brandon Cooks trade, but he has a lot of pieces on this team that
I liked it. Speak for yourself.
Mike Evans looks like a friggin' beast.
He does. So I think that he has a lot going for him. So I think his team actually has a lot going for him coming into the offseason.
The one upside guy I drafted and dropped. The only one that turned out to be any good.
Yeah. That's a solid pickup, Andy. That's well done on that because he looks like every bit as good as advertised.
He does. Choop, the addition of Ryan Tannehill, who potentially is going to be your quarterback of the future, is good. You can't having a franchise player like that is not a franchise, but at least a guy that you can build off of. Better than Matt Ryan.
What's his salary? Do you know?
$1. Who? Tannehill?
Yeah.
$1.
So let's before he could still draft like a Romo or like a somebody
and
for
just
15,
keep him as a backup. Yeah.
like $15 or $20 and have Tannehill as an upside guy. So yeah.
He has Emmanuel Sanders, who depending on Peyton's still there. Rashad Jennings is kind of old. Bishop Sankey's kind of a bum.
Jennings is 28. He's not done, and he hasn't run a whole lot. So
who?
Rashad Jennings, not a whole lot of miles on those tires.
Allen Robinson, I like a lot. Too bad he got hurt. He's fractured his foot and is out for the rest of the season. But he was showing a lot of promise in Jacksonville of all places.
Yep.
So he has some good pieces to start a nice little team on.
Mm-hmm.
Brett, I think we've talked about a lot and hasn't done anything to change his situation.
So where are we? The Choop, where'd you have the Choop?
10.
10, okay.
PBJ at number 9. This could be a fire sale. This is a team that actually should have made a trade because it's Alshon Jeffrey and then a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, but who could he have dealt? Who's he getting value for?
No one.
You can't deal Doug Martin. Nobody wants him.
Larry Fitzgerald, maybe.
I would have taken Fitzgerald for sure.
The problem with the Fitzgerald thing is Palmer went down, right? So now you got.
I think the Cardinals still have a good offense. The Cardinals still have a high-powered offense.
If you look at what Fitzgerald did when Drew Stanton was there at the beginning of the year, it was terrible. He was awful.
Stanton's had a couple seasons with a couple weeks to sit on the bench, so.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't
Andre
really.
Johnson, maybe he could have dealt Andre Johnson, but what are you really getting for these guys that's going to be worth anything?
Well,
know?
anything at this point would have been more than what they're worth to him.
Yeah, you're getting more than what Larry Fitzgerald's worth to you now.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Maybe.
PBJ was number 9. Anthony's at number 8. It just the breaks, just the bad breaks for Anthony. Actually, Matt Stafford hurt Anthony this year, and it's not so much that the quarterback scoring was bad and you got outscored by quarterbacks, which he did, but Stafford just didn't live up to what he needed him to be.
Calvin Johnson is who hurt him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trey Mason's a good pickup. Trey Mason seems to be the guy, and I actually like Trey Mason more this year than Zach Stacy at this. I think I'm higher on Trey Mason going into the next year than I was on Zach Stacy going into this year. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Antonio Brown is a beast. That was a great trade pickup for him earlier in the year.
Yes, he is.
Devontae Adams is an interesting keeper depending on what happens with Randall Cobb. If Randall Cobb moves to a different team because this is a contract year, so if he's a free agent and someone else picks up Randall Cobb and Adams slips into that raw potentially Cobb role, then this is interesting for what Adams could be.
It's always pretty marginal though on the Packers. You never really know who's
for $6,
but for $6, I don't know.
Maybe they're taking flyer for it. I don't know. I'm just saying it's interesting.
I don't know if I would gamble on that.
I think Adams has shown enough though. Like he has overtaken Jared Boykin as the third guy on that team.
Oh, poor Jared.
I think Adams has shown enough to say that if Cobb does go, then there's a good chance that he would be the guy.
Yeah, so. I think that he got Mason, Adams, Allen is kind of hit a sophomore slump. I don't know what that is. And then I don't know. I feel like in this Anthony's team was a little bit he's right there in the bubble. So it's either he makes a move to be competitive or he makes a move to build to the future.
Yeah.
And decide where to go there.
The worst thing you can be at this time of year is a mediocre team.
You're in limbo. Yeah.
Because you can't do anything. No one wants your guys, and you can't trade them, and they're too good to really try to go get something else. It's the worst. You're just.
How about that Michael Crabtree? Huh? He's really working out.
Yeah, the league might survive that trade after all, Nick.
So when was that trade made? By the way, Hillers?
It was like week 4 or 5.
I think it was after that, honestly.
And for several weeks, Pierce was outscoring him. He certainly hasn't set the world on fire down there.
Since week 5, he's had 1, 10, 2, 4, and 6. So he has been replacement level at best. That trade turns out. At the time it looked terrible. I'm still going to say that, but
it did. It was a dumb idea, but it
goes again to show you we know nothing about.
It didn't hurt me at all.
Didn't help you too much either. But
no, it didn't. It didn't.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then at number 7, I have myself.
Okay.
And I know that it's bad to talk about your team, but whatever, I'm going to do it anyway.
You got to be somewhere in there. We talk about all the teams.
Yeah.
I think my biggest problem was Tom Brady came on too late. Not that he came on too late. Tom Brady, the first 4 weeks of the season, if Tom Brady had done a little bit more than what he did, I would have won one or two of those games, which completely would have changed my record. And then A.J. Green and Bernard, and then my Bengals love just turning around and raping me up the butt did not help me out.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you're going to keep him, but I know as a Patriots fan you must have been pleased with Brandon LaFell his last few weeks.
Yeah.
Also interesting that you went and got Gio Bernard.
Yeah, I think.
What was that about?
LaFell's gonna fall into my if I could move Cobb or Green to get something out of him, I would.
You say that, but I'll believe it when I see it.
I don't know, but my running backs right now are Adrian Peterson and Charles Sims or Carlos Hyde. So I don't really know.
Either one of those two even has a job. We'll see. If
that's fine.
It
doesn't cost them anything to get those guys, though, right?
I'm not criticizing him saying it. I'm just saying it's a little early to be calling either one your other starting running back for next season.
No, but he's increasing his odds. He's got guys that could potentially work.
It's not a bad move.
No, my money is still on. My money is still on that. I'm going to walk into the draft with Peterson and Hyde. as my running backs, unless something happened, unless the 49ers draft a running back.
Or Gore just stays right along.
We'll see how that goes. Hyde's getting a lot more work, but that's enough of me talking about my team. So go ahead, guys.
Yeah, Nick, I'll agree with you 100%. I mean, Brady the first 4 weeks was a waiver wire quarterback, basically. He was like 11 or 12 points a week. And then as soon as he got healthy, like A.J. Green and Giovanni Bernard went down. So it was like your team was never actually at full strength. So, and that's
You know what I mean?
Hillary.
It's like,
I can't control when injuries like that happen. So, and this year is just like, you know what? This is just the way it played out. I like my team a lot. Had it just been healthy, it would have been a different situation. But I'm not actually angry about my team this year, which is a weird feeling.
no, you shouldn't be. I mean, you had a decent season. I mean, everybody in our entire division is not yet mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. So it's like,
Right.
what are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't. That's fine.
Hey, you still got a shot. And you got Tom Brady quarterback. You could get to 8-8, and 8-8 could make it. It has before.
If you could beat Anthony this week, that would really help.
Yeah. All right.
Adrian Peterson.
Take us 12-7. Who you got?
12-7. All right. At 12, I've got the Wiener. Not because they had the worst. Well, it was near to the worst year, but with the trades they've made so far, I mean, they're sad little squad. You know, there's not much left for this season. Followed by PBJ Time at 11. In some cases, because I feel like it just sort of checked out on this year. Not that I totally blown them, but I'm not going to be scared of it either.
But I blame.
There's the Assassins at 10 for well-documented reasons. The Los Chupanibres at 9. I have Nick at, Nick at 8, right? Which, you know, maybe a little bit low, but those middle ranks sometimes are a bit tough. And then the Sex Cannons at 7.
Okay. I've got the Choop at 12. I've got the Wiener at 11. I think the Choop, I mean, you talk about a team that is torpedoed. Like, they
bombed.
talk about everything going wrong. And I feel bad because JD's been really active. He's been the guy making trades and trying to get things done, and his team just completely,
what has it wrought? There's, nothing worth having.
And every trade he's made, nobody's looked at it and said, my God, why did you do that? Like, there's been a justification for everything he's done, and it seems reasonable, but just hasn't worked out. So, yeah, 11, Wiener. 10, I've got PBJ. Even though I think that I might be a little low on them. I feel like their team is, unfortunately, it's like finally healthy and okay. But yeah.
Still, though, you got more than half of the lineup, looking like sub 10-point projections. You know what I mean? Bobby Rainey isn't exactly going to lead you to victory. You know,
no,
Baldwin as a number 2 is like, ooh.
I did offer, and this is kind of, I know Brett doesn't always have all the time in the world during the day to make deals, but I did send him a trade for Charles Sims. I offered him, I think, Charles Sims. You guys tell me what you think about this, but I think I offered him Charles Sims for Justin Forsett. Because
I might have taken that.
Yeah, I figured he's not going to keep Forsett at $26, and that way that he's got all of the Tampa Bay backfield, every one of them.
Because that's what.
We need to lock that up. Watch it be a committee.
But whoever looks to be the guy next year, he's got him, and Sims is $2, so it seems like a reasonable deal. But then me and Nick talked, and we got the Bradshaw thing done. Honestly, that trade was probably on Brett's desk for 4 or 5 hours, so it wasn't like it was I was
you
waiting
want to know
that
something sad? There is nobody on his current starting lineup that is averaging more than 9.3 points on the season.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's not good.
When your kicker is like your best player.
But he's got Forsett. Forsett should be in his starting lineup. Forsett's a top 10 running back this year, actually. And he's been, which says a lot about the running back position this year, which has been a dumpster fire.
No, it says a lot about the offensive line of the Rams, or the Ravens, too.
No, I mean, come on. Like the running back position this year in the whole has been terrible. I mean, it's been like all the guys you thought were good and reliable have been like just brutal.
That's not what DeMarco Murray says.
Well, no one thought he was good and reliable. Nobody thought he was reliable. People thought he was good, but nobody thought he was reliable.
Reliable would not apply to him.
Right. But he's been great. You're right.
Amazing.
Anyway, that's PBJ at 10. I've got the Assassins at 9. Really, Watson, I think, has had some bad luck schedule-wise. I'm not going to blame it all on that, but I think he'd be in a lot more contention or he'd be in.
He's
a
the
lot
first or
closer.
second team in terms of points against.
Yeah, like he's had it pretty rough. He had Roethlisberger on his bench. What's that, Nick?
His schedule is 11 losses tough.
I don't think it's 11. Well, I think it could be 8 loss. Like, I don't know. I think he could be a 6-8 team, maybe. I think, and not totally out of it yet. Like, I don't know. I look at his team and I think it's not that bad. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
It's not good. I understand what you're saying about points against, but his points for isn't exactly outstanding either.
But I mean, either Russell Wilson or Roethlisberger, Andre Ellington, Arian Foster.
Well, starting Roethlisberger when he's actually scoring 6 touchdowns a game would be one of the keys to victory.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, if you can predict. Would you have started Roethlisberger when he's scoring 6 touchdowns?
I don't know. Maybe the second time. Did he score him? Did he start him that next week?
He didn't because it's
Because it was a fluke.
I mean,
You say that you this is like, I think that this is the opposite side of the coin. Is people keep saying, well, he has the toughest schedule and he has like the most points against.
He doesn't have the toughest. Dave has the toughest.
Points for.
Oh, does he?
He has 1,230 points, and at an eyeball test, that's the third lowest scoring in the league.
Yeah, well, that's not good.
I mean,
Dave has had a tougher
I
schedule.
think this is the same thing about you in the previous years. Is that I have the most points against. I'm so unlucky at fantasy football. It's like, yeah, but you also had the lowest points for, and those two are separate stats. You can't.
No. My complaint wasn't just the most points against. It was also my guys not. I mean, it also didn't. My guys didn't perform. There were a lot of things that went wrong. When you go 2-14, it's not just one thing that goes wrong.
We'll talk about your team. We'll talk about your teams when you and your little.
Slow down there. Yeah, it's not just one thing. So anyway, Assassins at 9. I don't think he had a terrible year managerially. I think he did okay. So at 8, I've got Evan, the Sex Cannons, and I've talked to Evan a little bit online about this, and he's pretty. I asked him if he regrets the Alfred Morris for Peyton Manning trade before the year started, and he says no, and he says because he feels like the biggest thing that happened to him this year was his wide receivers really didn't score touchdowns, and he gave me a stat. He said like I think his wide receivers had maybe like at least 10 fewer touchdowns than the top teams, which that's a big deal. I mean, if that stuff like that happens, that's a big deal, and that could be the difference in a couple of wins for sure. And if let's say he's sitting at 7-7.
If I make the playoffs and he doesn't, I am switching the bad coach assessment that I gave you a few podcasts ago and moving him down to the bottom, and I'm taking the second worst.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Because I've made some trades that I think put myself in a good position lately, and he didn't. So,
okay,
nuts to that.
Well, I think every week we talk on Mondays and Tuesdays, and he says, "Look, my team just didn't score touchdowns," and that's how you get stuck in that 80 something, 90 something point range.
You can't be satisfied with that. You must strive.
No, and he's not. He's not satisfied with it at all, and he's been putting a lot of trade offers out there. Hence the very angry trade block update.
He knows, so grumpy.
People who have not responded to trade.
You need not apply.
He's been sending them out all year, and he just hasn't gotten hits back, which we laugh about, but is a disgrace. Like, even if you want to reject the trade. If you don't even know what to reject it, let him know. Like, don't leave a guy sitting.
Let's be honest, though, Merrill. These pleas are falling on deaf ears. Anyone not paying enough attention to the league to click on a trade offer is not an hour deep into the podcast.
Yeah, but they might be. I don't know, but I think that's a shame. If we have people who aren't responding to trades, and we really need to look at getting new owners. I'm going to say that because it's freaking fantasy football, and we pride ourselves on having a very active league. And if you send a trade to somebody and 3 days later you haven't heard a word from them, that's disgraceful. It's
a
not
problem.
what this league is about. It's a major problem, and we need to look into that because that's something. We need to look into new owners if that's the case. Just reject the trade, for God's sakes. Everybody has smartphones. Reject the freaking trade. I mean, if you don't want it. You don't have to give them a reason. You don't have to do anything. It takes 10 seconds. Anyway.
Strong words. Well done.
So at 6 is 8. At 7, I've got Nick. I have Iron Pirate at 7.
Makes sense.
We already talked about you, Nick. So Nick, bring us 6 to win.
Okay. 6, I actually have the 6 cannons, and so I mean that's good that we can segue right that I can talk about in my ear. Is that I think the other thing that hurt him is Nick Foles just didn't pan out the way he wanted to. I think is what the ultimate problem was. You heard reports that coming into training camp that Mark Sanchez actually looked better in training camp than Nick Foles, and that they actually wanted Sanchez to be the quarterback, but I guess there was
That's him too.
Foles in. And looking at the eyeball test right now, in 1.5 games, Sanchez has 100 points less than Foles does. That's less than 100 points. That's 40 points, and Foles has 134.
So are you saying you trust Mark Sanchez to be a franchise quarterback for a fantasy football team?
I'm saying, well,
After 2
what I'm
games?
saying is that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the 8.5 game lead that Foles had only netted him 100 more points than.
I'm not suggesting that Foles was a solid bet, but I am saying that we have a huge sample size on Sanchez, and pretty much all of it has been shit.
You
But
can,
also-
For the last 2
my
games.
stat can speak both ways. My stat can say that no matter how bad Sanchez is, that he's only put up 40 points in the last week and a half, but that Foles only scored less than 95 more points than Sanchez had.
I'm not asking in the last 2 weeks. I'm asking, do you think that he is a capable franchise quarterback, a long-term quarterback for a fantasy football team?
As a Jets hater, I think that the Jets are a dumpster fire of an organization, and that maybe Sanchez has never had the right tools around him to be able to show what he can do.
Yeah,
Is
what if
that
the
a
Jets were a
yes?
problem?
Is that a yes, Nick?
I don't
Clarify. Is that a
I
yes?
think Sanchez be horrible, and it has nothing to do with the weapons around him.
You're saying yes-like things,
No,
but
I'm
you're not
saying
saying yes.
It's a false choice, is what it is.
It's not a false choice. I'm
Yeah.
asking if your opinion, yes or no. It's a
No,
yes or no
what-
question.
What is my question?
Maybe is a Merrill answer.
What is the
Let's
question?
say.
What is the question?
Is Mark Sanchez a capable franchise quarterback for a fantasy football team?
Sample size is too small to say that. I'm not answering that question.
It's not too small. He's got years of play,
He has a whole new system.
which are good.
I don't know, the Sanchez that I've seen play the last year.
You think it's all the Jets? Have you even seen him pass?
Sanchez
Some of it is just way far away
Since
from the
week 1 of
receiver.
2013, I have not seen Sanchez.
I'm shocked to have you even say that the jury's still out on that one. I think the jury's been out for years on him.
Sanchez being passed since
I think
2013.
it's. I'm more on Nick's side here. I think it is situational. While Hillers, I will say no to your question because it's kind of a ridiculous question. He's not a guy you can trust a franchise to, but we've got 6 or 7 weeks now where we can see what he does in this high-powered, high-octane offense. Because
Yeah.
I don't think Nick Foles is a guy you can trust a fantasy football team to either.
Obviously not.
So
Well-
we'll see what Mark
Well,
Sanchez.
that's what I'm saying is people figure these guys out too. I mean, there's all sorts of guys that come in for a game or two and look like the hot new thing, and then by the next year you don't even remember their name.
Yeah, but there's a lot of tape on Mark Sanchez, and he came
A
in the
lot,
Carolina
but a
Panthers
lot of
game,
it is shitty. So,
and the Panthers still couldn't stop him. So
Panthers
so
were
there is that.
were terrible. We're
Okay.
just awful. They have no.
Well,
It doesn't
again,
make
and that
sense.
goes to
Good.
sample size, and we'll see over these next few weeks because Mark Sanchez, you can't blame the offense anymore if he's terrible. If he's terrible in this offense, then we'll know for sure. Because that Jets offense, he had no weapon. He has no weapons at all in that Jets offense. But in this Eagles offense, you can't say that. So if he's bad now, then we know he's a bad quarterback. But we'll see what he does.
All right. Interesting. Anyway, too
So,
much time on that. Where were we?
Dave, I have Dave at number 5. Wow, we got redealed. So who had the over on 20 minutes on this podcast?
We've never done.
We're doing
20
okay.
minutes.
It's been a good one.
Dave, Andy Dalton has been an absolute dumpster fire this year, but he has luck, so that's fine. That doesn't matter. I forgot that he had luck. Calvin Benjamin's a beast. Bolden's been good. Macklin's a beast. Denard Robinson has been a nice little surprise for him. Dave's got some pieces. I don't really have anything. I mean, much. I mean, the thing is that when you start talking about these upper teams now, is that there's not much to say because they're winning.
Well, it's just it's crazy. It's another season where no one was really all that excited about this team. Pretty much still, right? And he's quietly been putting together a very nice season with the highest, I think, points against out of anybody. You know what I mean? So, and rather than hearing all kinds of, I'm sorry, not quite. 10 points less points against than Watson.
He's second in the breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, so pretty remarkable. You don't see a lot of teams. Solid performers all the way down the lineup that just sort of show up for a good number of points every week, and he seems to be able to keep putting these teams together. And as much as that Denard Robinson thing pisses me, expensive owner of Toby Gerhart, congrats! He managed to find a whole lineup there. You'd be like, yeah, that guy's good, that guy's good, that guy's good. Everybody's just good.
Let's slow down on the whole lineup thing because he does have the second highest scoring quarterback in the league. Andrew Luck has been putting up 35 plus every week, and so the whole solid lineup thing.
I think he's winning because he's got guys that can contribute to that. And let's not get into the quarterback thing for like the 19th consecutive week, shall we? I know it's your favorite.
The Denard Robinson thing is very recent, and before that he had really to speak of. His receivers, Anquan Bolden is not a solid. I mean he's okay, I guess, but.
No, but Macklin is great. Kelvin Benjamin is doing very well.
Terrible.
Darren Sproles was in there before Denard Robinson, doing just fine most
team
weeks.
Overall pretty good players.
Pretty good guys. That's all I'm saying.
Pretty okay to pretty good players, followed by an extremely good quarterback, and in this league, that takes you very far.
And defense in the league
4
never hurts. I just got to say they have 4 or 5 games now over 20 points or 20 points or over. That's game changer too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Anyway, moving on.
Hillers is next, and I can't believe it. Hillers upside the team draft is right here at the freaking wild card bubble.
Been a tumultuous year.
It has.
But when you can ride Aaron Rodgers, DeMarco Murray, and Julius Thomas, like
I will, I can and will.
That's what he needs, and that's what he's doing. So that's fine, and you can go do whatever now.
It's not even the poor man's Jimmy Breeze; it's the rich man's Jimmy Breeze. It's just that the rest of my team has been so god awful. I haven't quite managed to capitalize.
God, you started.
Yeah, there's nothing to say, and plus because he's podcasting now, so better enough of that. TDJ is next, 3, I think. Is that what I have? Is that where we are?
Sure.
Yeah,
your rankings, dude.
TDJ is 3. It's a good thing that he has Phillip Rivers already on his team because Cam Newton's really seems to be just not doing it.
Done.
Yeah, Hillers. You were right on that one, man.
Mark Ingram.
He's a bust.
Alvin Johnson, top to bottom. This team shouldn't even be number 3. Top to bottom, I think this team's just a beast. It is just really great. It's just really good. Dez Hillman, who's been going to be out for the next couple of weeks. Monty Ball, who's coming back. I mean,
coming back. And if he does, is he that good?
It's a guy you could play in a flex.
He hasn't been that good, to be honest.
Well, he doesn't have to be good. It's if the guy that is in front of him gets hurt.
He has to not put up a goose.
He's had 1 double-digit point game all year.
Okay, well then you know what? He stays on the bench and he has Forte, Ingram, Hilton.
I think you start Ingram. Yeah.
Right now you start Ingram, no question.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. I mean, this
it's
team.
a great team. I'm not arguing that. It's a good team.
You're picking nits.
Yeah, picking nits.
I don't want to say this one. Dadjick's next.
I don't understand why everybody hates my team being good. I've been bad for 14 years or something. Like, why is it so awful?
Beryl, when has anyone ever praised the number 1 team?
Yeah, that's true. Fair point.
Never. You've earned every bit of hate. You just sit there and eat it. You eat your hate.
Okay.
I think the biggest problem with Dadjick's is that there's no depth right now. And it's not even that there's no depth, it's that he just doesn't really have... He's riding Jimmy Breeze and Le'Veon Bell, Yeah, Martavius Bryant's been great for these past few weeks. And then Sammy Watkins, who's also hurt. But between Terrence West, Andre Holmes... I mean, he has Terrence West and Andre Holmes as starters that are question marks. And then, aside from that, he has no one on his bench that he can fill in to really offset that. So I think that's kind of why I'm giving him number 2, is just because he has a great set 80% of his starting lineup, but then he's missing a couple of the key pieces. That maybe this should have been a team that was actually trying to get active. And maybe try to trade away Martavius Bryant, maybe, and try to shore up something else. Like, I don't know.
Interesting.
And then that leaves Merrill at number 1, who, I don't know. It's
scraping the mic or something.
Yeah, Nick, you're like hitting the mic with your hand or something.
I don't even have a mic.
It's got to be somewhere.
There's a mic somewhere on your computer. There it was. Whatever you just did after that.
Okay. The Merrill's next. And I think that really helps you out. The Bradshaw really gives you that extra depth that you needed. Because, like I said, Bradshaw was way better than Richardson, and now you can finally admit it because you have Bradshaw on your team.
I never said he wasn't. I just said Richardson.
We have several IMS messages that says that Richardson is just as good as Bradshaw.
Okay.
And that Bradshaw is not nearly as good as he's not that much better than Richardson. Bradshaw's just getting lucky.
I don't think I ever said that. But okay.
We'll put together something. And then Brandon Marshall, I think, is your other weak part. And then Brandon Marshall is actually your only questionable thing that you have. And
you're doing pretty good if Brandon Marshall is your questionable thing, by the way.
Yeah, no cap. Yeah, so sorry I have more to say about your team, Merrill, but that's just...
Nah, we said plenty.
Okay.
So, let's see. At 6, I have EBS, which is probably where he'll end up, just outside of the playoffs. Sorry about that, Anthony. I mean, not that. Sorry,
oh,
but
what a horrible season. Oh, God, the sky's falling.
I got myself at 5, which the last time I ranked myself, it was 12, so I feel like things are looking up.
That's quite the jump.
Yeah. I've got the Duplex at 4, Dad Dix at 3, Pritchard at 2, and you at 1, Mike.
Okay.
It was just your year with the keepers to start with. I mean, you've managed to build a good team around it, but you would have had to try real hard to screw things up with where you started this year.
And to be fair, I worked for those keepers.
You did for many years.
It took me 11 seasons to get those keepers. let's not just say I lucked into them. But although I will say,
never said that.
This game's 90% luck, so I will say that. So there's that 10% though, man. I worked hard at that 10%.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Okay. At 6, I've got EBS. Hillers, I'm very similar to you here. At 6, I got EBS. 5, I have Hillers. Hillers, like Nick said. I mean, all he has is Aaron Rodgers, DeMarco Murray, and Julius Thomas, but that's a pretty good 3 to have.
Fuck it, I'll take it. And sometimes somebody chips in on that a little bit.
But you just need like 1 or 2 other guys to contribute a little bit, and you're good.
Right.
At 4, I've got the Dad Dix. Mainly because of depth. You look at breakdown; they haven't been quite as good as the team I have at number 3, which is the Duplex. The Duplex has been really good all year. I bash him a little bit on, Hillers and me. You just argued a little bit about it, about the holes in his lineup. But
they're no good, but you got him at 3.
Because he has Andrew Luck. He is a terrifying quarterback that will put up 35 on you pretty much every week. So you've got to make those points up somewhere. And he's been better than Drew Brees has been this year, so that's why I have him above.
That's crazy.
The Dad Dix. At 2, I've got TDJ because that team is also terrifying. Like you said, Nick, you just ran through the roster, and that team is a scary team. It's like, he's got a hole here. It's like, he can just plug in blah blah, and this guy's a top 15. Put up 37 points last week. So. Calvin
Johnson being hurt would have been a real problem for most teams.
Exactly, and it's not. I mean, he's cruised to the division while not having probably his best player. I
mean, I loved it. Golden Tate kicked ass those weeks, but he was just like, it's fine. I can fill it in. I don't need that. It's crazy.
Right. Basically, his best player has been gone, and he's cruised to the division. It's been a dumpster fire of a division, to be fair, but
division sucks.
but you still gotta win. And he's
New
beats a good
divisions
team.
next year, everybody. If you're still watching, something to look
Right.
forward to.
Yeah, we got to figure out when we're gonna. I guess we do it after the championship, right?
Yep.
We'll do that. Okay. And then at 1, I've got Black Widows just because of 150 point doubleheader week. It's hard
12-win season with 2 weeks left to go. Pretty dominant stuff.
So, I think my most wins I've ever had before this was 9. I don't think ever.
Jesus.
And I don't think I've ever won a division. So, yeah, it's a weird place to be for sure. And,
Merrill has as many wins this year as he did losses 2 years ago.
yeah.
That's
we
a
were
good
talking about
turnaround.
this. We were talking about this before the podcast, right? So in the immediately prior to becoming the Black Widows, my team was 2-20, somewhere around there. It was like 2-19, 2-20, something like that. I changed it to the Black Widows, and since then I've been 20-2. So and then Hillers, you said since you changed to Hillers upside with the question mark.
Yeah, wins all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like prior to being the upside, I had lost to the 4 worst teams in our entire league are my 6 losses. And this trend goes back years. The Tower of Implosion wasn't always called the Tower of Implosion, but as soon as it was, straight up victories right to titles.
Championship. Yeah.
Yeah. So if your team is losing, you should seriously consider changing its name to something derogatory to yourself. Because
I'm pretty sure
historically, it's amazing for your team.
I'm pretty sure he changed to the duplex of mediocrity after last season started also, and ended up winning the championship.
That's Well, his 3rd title, because no one's more self-deprecating with their name changes than Dave. So
right.
3 titles.
All right, guys.
All right, so let's close it out, guys. Thanks for joining. Those of you still with us, thanks for listening. And turned out to be a little longer. It was a little different format, though. I feel like it was a pretty good format we had here, and we kind of hit on everything. Nick, thanks for kind of making sure we hit every team. And
Merrill, I got one question for you.
all right, go
For
ahead.
years, you had said that among your curses is that I would always beat you. We
Yeah.
did not play this year. Should we meet in a championship game? Do you think you can win?
I do. This year I do.
Okay, I just wanted to get that on record.
Yeah. No, but you're right. I mean, it's this year. Well, a lot of it has been because you've had a 20-point advantage on me due to Aaron Rodgers whenever we played. Aaron Rodgers always seems to put up 45 against me every time we play. So
he hates you.
he does.
Like the Jay Cutler of the fantasy
He
world.
knows. I am. And no, that would be epic though. I would like that if we did.
I
meet
bet you
together.
would like that. I bet you would like that a lot.
I've never done, so I'd be fine with that. But
All right.
we're a long way off. So anyway, gentlemen, any final thoughts from anybody? Are we good?
Let's get out.
All right. So for let's see, who are we this week?
You name it.
For Arvidas Sabonis, for Detlef Shrimp and Tony Kukoc. This is Arvidas Sabonis saying, "We'll talk to you guys later."
Which one am I?